Hello everyone, Caleb Masters back here with you with a special set of reviews for the new movie Now You See Me, Now You Don't. It is the third entry in the Now You See Me movie franchise. The franchise starring, of course, Jesse Eisenberg, Woody Harrelson, Isla Fisher, and Dave Franco, Mark Ruffalo, Morgan Freeman, along with a number of other special rotating guest stars per movie. This franchise started way back in the day in 2013 and has made a long-awaited revival because I suppose apparently there are a lot of people who love the Now You See Me franchise, $700 million worth at least. Who these people are, I'm not quite sure, but either way, Lauron and I are here. We have you covered, each with our individual takes, our reviews about whether or not you should see the latest entry at the theater this weekend. So we'll start this time with my review before shifting to Lauron Chapman's review. And again, we'll be back for our normally scheduled programming later this month. We hope you enjoy this bonus episode.
According to that card, for some reason, I need you.
Why not the other horsemen?
The other horsemen are dead.
Oh my God, what?
No, they're like dead to me. Things got too real for them. They gave up. Stop interrupting. I'm talking about a trick that is bigger and better than anything you have ever seen. It's now or never.
What's the trick?
Hello everyone, Caleb Masters from thecinematropolis.com here with a special review of Now You See Me, Now You Don't.
It is very good to be back.
Come up, you're gonna be our helper.
Okay, disappear in 3, 2, 1. J. Daniel Atlas in the house. Who wants to see a magic trick?
It's been 9 years since we got Now You See Me 2, and a whopping 12 years since the original Now You See Me. And of course, this is the sort of Ocean's 11, but with magic series. The first film and the second film co-stars an incredible cast. I'm a big fan of several of them, including Jesse Eisenberg, Woody Harrelson, Isla Fisher, Morgan Freeman, Mark Ruffalo, among several other great little smaller parts. It has been a really long time since we've seen the magic, so to speak, and I've got to admit, I never was a huge fan of the Now You See Me franchise. You know, there is something very alluring, something very exciting about magic meets heist that unfortunately I don't think the first two films ever quite lived up to the premise of that. Does the franchise really still have enough tricks up its sleeve to deliver sort of another romp of the Four Horsemen, at least from the box office perspective?
Now, a wise man once told me, in the mirror, in fact, never assume you're the smartest person in the room. Prove it.
Be my guest.
All right, well, let's see if we can get that case open. Abracadabra.
I cannot believe they did not call this film Now You Three Me as the third film in the franchise. You're never going to have that opportunity again, guys, that you have the third entry. We can sprinkle it into the titling. But in all seriousness, I would say it's that I was never bored. I was engaged. I laughed a few times. I was charmed somewhat in moments. But ultimately, I was left with a pretty hollow experience. I have to say, I think the film really feels like it's been made by committee, going back to that era of the early to mid 2010s, back when Marvel was just taking off and everything had to be a big franchise and everything had a director just kind of coming on as a gun for hire in order to put their spin on what is ultimately a producer-driven film. And I think the same thing is true about this film. It feels, I would say, something somewhat sanitized, very mechanical. There's crowd-pleasing moments, sure, but ultimately it all sort of feels a little bit of artifice. Like, for example, you have the returning cast members, all of them, which I liked. Again, the Four Horsemen, including a couple of little cameos that I will not mention. Harrelson, Eisenberg, Fisher, Franco, all of them just seem like they are sort of sleepwalking through performance. Yeah, we're here, we're hanging out, and man, we're getting paid a lot of money to act like we're friends. And I'm going to tell you why we're friends. I'm going to tell you about all those good times we had. But ultimately, none of those moments really feel super earned from my perspective. So I was not very invested in any of the returning characters. I wasn't particularly moved by whatever tragedies, twists of fate that their lives had taken since the last film had come out in 2016. That said, I want to turn things to the new cast because that is a very different story. I'm talking about Justice Smith as Charlie, Ariana Greenblatt as June, and Dominic Sessa as Bosco. Again, whereas that returning cast feels like it's sort of just sort of on cruise control largely, this cast has sparks. This cast has chemistry. And then, of course, there's Rosamund Pike's Veronica Vanderburg. Let's not talk about her. The less said about her and her accent, the better. Frankly, I was a little heartbroken, and she should be too.
Still safe with me.
In the opening moments of the film, you see the Four Horsemen doing sort of their grand re-debut, their first performance in 10 years, and they tell us, yes, you've missed us. Yes, we blew the world up, and then we disappeared for a long time, and we know that you've been clamoring to see more of our magic. The Four Horsemen, we're back in action, and we are going to blow your minds. There's a lot of self-importance here. A lot of sort of mythologizing that has happened, at least on producers here, suggesting that, yes, even though those first two films were very successful at the box office, I don't know about you, I haven't seen anyone dressing up as the Four Horsemen at Halloween lately. And so when the film is telling me, wow, we're a big deal, it just feels very hollow. And ultimately, this is sort of a reminiscent of a different era of studio filmmaking when everything was IP, everything was franchise, and the studios kept serving it up to us no matter how mediocre it was, and people kept showing up and paying the big bucks. This feels like it was made from that era. Hey guys, here's a mediocre product. Enjoy. We know you're going to love it. And at the end of the day, I think all of us, including the cast members, who I'm sure got good paydays, deserve a better script. They deserve better written characters. And ultimately, if you're going to do heist with magic, it sure needs to be a lot more fun. And there needs to be a lot more showing me the magic than telling me the magic. So if I were going to give this a letter grade, I would say generously a C-. You catch me on a bad day, I would say it's a D+ even. Here's the thing. You're going to go into this movie. You're probably going to have an inoffensive time. You're going to probably laugh a little bit, like I said. You're going to then pick apart the film immediately afterwards in your brain, realizing that none of the plot mechanics or character relationships hold up under much scrutiny. It's going to be a little annoying, and then you're going to forget about it by the time you wake up the next morning. So ultimately, this is passable entertainment. This has been a review of Now You See Me, Now You Don't. The film is opening in theaters this Friday.
Want to see a magic trick?
Thaddeus? You enjoying the show?
Shall we get on with it?
Hey guys, dead end.
Open sesame.
Way to represent, Merritt.
Worth a try, was it? Never know.
I think you do know.
Hello, everyone. Lauron Chapman here with the Cinematropolis.com for a quick mini review of the now third installment in the Now You See Me film franchise. That's right, count it 1, 2, 3 films in what I guess at this point would be considered a worldwide phenomenon, as the franchise has amassed a whopping $700 million, and that's not including the box office receipts that it will obtain in the next couple of weeks with this now third installment. A few fun film facts about this franchise. The original Now You See Me was directed by Louis Leterrier, who did the first and second Transporter movies, which if you're a very fan of very dumb action movies as much as this guy is, especially ones that star Jason Statham, then you definitely respect that franchise. Now You See Me 2 was directed by John M. Chu. I was today years old when I learned that. Of course, John M. Chu of Wicked and Wicked for Good fame, as well as Crazy Rich Asians. And the third installment, Now You See Me, Now You Don't, directed by Ruben Fleischer, who directed the original Zombieland. Now, all of the films I've just rattled off are all movies that I would find far more interesting to discuss more thoughtfully than any of the 3 films in this particular franchise. But clearly I am in the minority in that regard, as people have come in droves to support this franchise, and it has amassed a very eclectic group of very talented filmmakers, as well as a very star-studded A-list cast, including Jesse Eisenberg, Dave Franco, Morgan Freeman, Woody Harrelson, Justice Smith, Lizzie Kaplan, Isla Fisher. Just the list goes on and on and on. So clearly I am not the audience or the target demographic for this film. But what I can say is that if you are a fan of the other 2 all of which I have seen, then I think that you're going to be pleasantly surprised with this one. It's a lot more of the same. I've always viewed this franchise as kind of a diet Fast and the Furious kind of franchise, in the sense that if you just swap the sexy cars for sexy magicians, and you do a lot of globe trotting, and you have a high stakes heist in all these foreign countries, then there's some fun to be had in that kind of setting. And it's definitely pure popcorn escapist entertainment. But I do feel like, what I can appreciate about this particular franchise, and particularly this entry in the franchise, is that there is a lot of winking at the camera. There is a lot of self-knowing humor. This is definitely a franchise that knows how ridiculous it is. And I think that that's what worked best in some of the other franchises that have 7, 18 sequels, is that at some point you have to realize that if you don't have anywhere interesting to go with the story, then you have to be able to have a sense of humor about how ridiculous it is that this story continues to get bigger and expanded upon. As we know, we have a lot of characters in this, all of which are a huge band of misfits, all with a specialized set of skills. But all of them still seem grossly underqualified to do the kind of dangerous jobs that they're doing. But I guess that's also part of the fun and part of the escapism of it all. I do think that this is amusing in a very middling sort of way. I think that, again, people who are fans of the original two will find a lot of pleasures here with this one too. I think the cast in particular is having a ball with this. My favorite character is Rosamund Pike as the villain in this film. And I just think that she's really chewing up the scenery with whatever accent and whatever dialect that she's going for here. This isn't a film that I can highly recommend to anybody outside of the fan base. I think that it would play perfectly well on streaming for people. That being said, I'm going to give the film, if I'm giving it a letter grade, I'm going to give this film a C-, but with the caveat of knowing that this is definitely something for audience members who are already built in and locked into this particular franchise. If this film sounds like it appeals to you and you are fans of the original two, then you should definitely check this one out. It's definitely for you. And if you were lukewarm on the other two, as I was, then you'll probably be lukewarm on this one as well. It's not terrible. It's not great, but it's also just pure escapist fun. So if that's something that you want to go to the theaters for right now, and definitely with everything going on in the world right now, I can definitely see how this could be a fun use of 2 hours of your time. But for more thoughtful takes like this, please head over to the Cinematropolis, and thank you for listening.